CS investigate assault on accused killer Bhosip Kaiwi. Law enforcers trained on court file preparation. And a trip of a lifetime for 24 rural children.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Wednesday's news. A letter presented to the Correctional Services Commissioner has led to investigations being launched into the alleged assault of Bhosip Kaiwi by correctional officers. Kaiwi's lawyer, in a letter to CS Commissioner Stephen Pokanis, highlighted allegations of abuse by warders against his client, claiming Bhosip was beaten up by those who were supposed to look after detainees. However, the Commissioner's decision to launch an investigation has sparked anger among social media users who claimed the decision was unfair, as there are many other cases of alleged assaults on remandees in other prisons throughout the country.
Bhosip Kaiwi, the man charged for the torturing and brutal murder of his partner, 20-year-old Jeneline Kennedy, claims he was assaulted whilst in the custody of the Correctional Service. This morning, CS Commissioner Stephen Pokanis confirmed receiving a letter from Kaiwi's lawyer about the alleged assault, but says it was just a minor assault. As a result, an internal investigation was launched to establish the nature of the assault.
The letter from the lawyer, I think the qualification is that Bhosip has alleged that the officers have assaulted him. That was the letter from the lawyer. So I'm basing this on the letter from the lawyer, Bhosip's lawyer. Yeah. But they have requested for treatment. We have done that. We have taken him to our own health center at Bomana. They have given him the kind of support that he needs.
Kaiwi, charged with willful murder on June 30th, is now remanded at a quarantine facility at the CS Training College at Bomana. Come next Wednesday, Kaiwi will have completed his 14 days of quarantine as per measures against COVID-19 and is expected to be transferred into the main prison compound.
Bhosip Kaiwi is not a first person. That facility is there because of COVID-19. Without COVID-19, everyone should be at Bomana because that's where we all go to for our holiday. But because of COVID-19, it's good to take a break, take away there, make sure that he or she is okay before we take them to the main prison. So Bhosip Kaiwi is not the lonely person sitting there. We've got many of them there.
While social media is debating the possibility of Kaiwi applying for bail on safety reasons, there are no applications for bail filed as yet at the Waigani National Court Registry. However, Commissioner Pokani says the Correctional Service does not decide who applies for bail, and if Kaiwi wants to make bail applications, it is up to him and his lawyer.
But what I'm simply saying is that our job, being a correctional officer, is to look after prisoners. That is something that we must always remember. We should not forget that responsibility as a correctional officer. Our job is to look after them. Our job is not to harm them. Our job is to take care of them.
Meanwhile, families of the late Jeneline are making preparations for her funeral service, which will be held on Friday at the Reverend Sioni Kami Memorial Church. And Kaiwi returns to court for second mention on the 30th of this month. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
In assisting police officers to make successful convictions, the Bomana Police Training College is conducting refresher courses for members of the Special Services Division. Trainers from the Police College commenced a 3-day workshop today on court file preparations, a critical function on the duty of being a police officer.
28 members of the Special Services Division are undergoing this refresher course with the aim to improve how they prepare charges when making arrests and compiling court documents to be used in court.
We need to train our men and women from all the sections of the police force. And our one of the fundamental duties of the policemen and women is to arrest offenders and bring them to court.
Preparing court files is an important role of an arresting officer, and any mistake on the court files can lead to the matter being thrown out of court on technical grounds.
First document is the information sheet and the witness statements, the statements of facts, and then with that we will get that list of the witnesses that will appear in court, put them in order, who's going to be the first witness, who's going to be the second witness, who's going to be the last witness. And then we need to have all the exhibits attached with the court file. All right, and then we can take it up to the courthouse, and then we need to have the crime scenes, sketch plans of any offenses that is committed, and if it needs all those information, it needs to be attached. And if there is any photographs that needs to be attached, it has to be attached. All the necessary documents need to be attached with the court file.
Thus, such training are aimed at minimizing court methods being struck out. Over the years, many court methods listed before the Waigani District Court have been struck out of court due to minor errors like the wrong wordings on charges or arresting officers failing to complete court files. In some instances, these cases involve serious charges like murder, armed robbery or misappropriation.
For this training on court file training is very, very important because so many cases that goes to the court, it's been some are dismissed, some are withdrawn, some are struck out because the files are not prepared properly. All right, maybe they on some technical grounds like the information that have been prepared on the information sheet or the statement of facts or the witness list and the witness, the exhibits evidence are not properly listed.
The workshop is delivered through a competency basis, which means the 28 participants will sit through the theory lessons and will do on-the-job training. Amongst the 28, 4 are female officers and 1 is a member of the Mobile Squad 14 based in Karawagi. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Lay police are investigating the death of a 9-year-old girl whose body was found at 3 Mile yesterday afternoon. Lay Metropolitan Commander Chief Superintendent Chris Konyanban said the girl from Kagwa in Southern Highlands went missing on Sunday and was found dead yesterday. He said the body of the 9-year-old showed signs of suspected sexual penetration, awaiting a doctor's report for confirmation. The parents of the young girl have been brought in for interrogation at the Lay Central Police Station. Investigation into the incident is underway with a full brief to be released soon. A small business in the Baruni area is offering free life skills training to help unite the people and to sustain themselves. The area in Moresby Northwest Electorate has been riddled with killings recently between 2 ethnic groups. Grassroots Marketing and General Services, a Filipino-owned business, is offering free training on housekeeping, body massaging and spa and cookery. It is hoped the women will do something out of nothing to sustain themselves.
In this training program, women from Baruni and Nautana areas are taught full body massage and foot spa, cookery, housekeeping and other necessary skills. It is a free training program offered to empower women to be independent and do something to sustain themselves. A small ceremony today saw women showcasing their skills and offering free massage to the public.
They will learn this kind of trainings, and then at the same time they will get their own clients to make their own money. Instead of they asking or begging money to their husbands, at least they make money on their own to buy their own necessity, like on the family or the kids and everything, and their personal use.
The training program started when trainer Jesselyn Ambandula saw the need for the people to be educated. She says, like her home country, there are people with different skills roaming the streets. However, they must be trained on how to use those skills. In February this year, she took her first batch of students to train. After the first batch, more women have shown interest, which saw her taking in a second batch of over 20 students, and they will be receiving their certificate soon. The trainer says they are using proceeds from the trade store to fund the program.
Basically, I think this type of, this training is I see the outcome of the ladies. They come to training. I see that they are full of joy and happy, and I think that this training gonna help them in somehow, because right now most of the ladies in the settlement, they're just doing nothing.
With the skills they learned, the women in the area have gone out of their way to sustain themselves. According to a student, she has clients coming to her for massage, while other women are also doing something to help themselves. A local says this is a good program.
So they share their knowledge for the automotives to teach also the young teenagers, then the lesson job, husbands, that these people that they can also join us. That's the next activities that we are trying to initiate now, automotive training.
Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll be back with more stories after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. A member of Lae Safe City Committee, Nellie McClay, has questioned the Department of Community Development on their silence of gender-based violence. McClay said the department's 2016 to 2025 strategy on gender-based violence, passed in Parliament in 2016, aims to prevent and respond to the issue. However, it's proven ineffective. This follows a meeting by stakeholders who want more action from the government, especially the Department of Community Development.
They've never addressed the issue on GBV.
A representative from Optimist International and a member of the Lae Safe City Committee, Nellie McClay, said the Department of Community Development, Youth and Religion should not be silent about GBV in the country. Optimist International is an organization that has been advocating on gender-based violence for almost 22 years. McClay said the department came up with a national strategy plan for 2016 to 2025 to prevent and respond to gender-based violence that was passed by the NEC in 2016. However, not much has been done.
When we're addressing gender-based violence, we're not only talking about women being bashed and assaulted, physically assaulted and emotionally assaulted. We're also talking about children that are involved in a family, young boys, young girls, everyone across the board. So I want to appeal to our national government. I want them to tell us, where is that document? We want to know. All the NGOs, all civil society, all the government departments, all the provinces should have access to that information.
McClay's call follows a stakeholders meeting including the police, CS, NGO groups, Australian Federal Police and GBV survivors last week, who called on the Community Development Department to focus on the issues of GBV seriously. Lae's Police Family and Sexual Violence Unit Officer in Charge, Sergeant Ruth Murup, said it's difficult attending to GBV cases and needs collective efforts.
Some of them we refer to our partners to process the IPOs, like the NGO groups, the Family PNG, they process the IPOs on behalf of the victims. So we don't do the job alone. It's everybody's business to do it.
Community development has to come in, and that is my question. I haven't seen community development officers going up and interviewing the family of this young girl who just died, who was killed. What has happened to the two children? They are supposed to be a priority, to be looked after. Who's looking after them?
Government blame it, each province blame me, and must responsible look this kind can big play heavy in a big bagarap and come up here. You may talk COVID-19, but Lord this la and stop here. It's here to stay. I'm continuous. Young man Mary kissing bagarap.
McClay said GBV doesn't only concern women and girls, but men and boys as well. The primary function of the Department for Community Development and Religion is to develop policies and legislations to promote and protect the rights of vulnerable groups such as children, women, persons living with disability, and the elderly.
To this day, they've never addressed the issue on GBV. Never. And now it's escalating. There are a lot of young girls dying Now, when this young girl died in Moresby, channeling, that was 3 or 4 weeks ago. Within that span of time, I hear there's another 4 women dying or had dead from some other provinces. To me, it's totally wrong. Totally wrong. We're talking about human resource here. We're not talking about gold or gas or a product. This is the goal. This is the human goal. And we as Papua New Guinean, we need to protect our mothers, our daughters. They're the ones who are giving birth to human resource. Not the gold, it's not the gas. I'm telling you now. I'm just fed up. I'm fed up to see women suffering.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
Several new roads are being built in Wabeg to help people have access to basic government services in the district. Wabeg MP Dr. Lino Tom was in the district over the weekend to inspect the roads to ensure work is progressing well. The member said these roads will help achieve the district's 5-year development plan and is key to service delivery. Vaccinations and other basic health services into rural areas were major challenges over the years due to lack of roads leading to people living in the mountains. The district has so far built 8 new roads to assist villages cut off from basic services.
Roads that we are building at the same time concurrently, it's quite a difficult, expensive exercise, but we believe that access is like the best thing to have before. It's like, as per medium-term development tool, road access is an enabler. When you have road access, other services can easily come to, remote areas such as this place here. So that's what we're basically doing. We're building these roads, and with the road, other services will come in. So far we've spent a lot of money in building this road infrastructure, but we are adamant that we should connect these rural places. So that's where we are. So based on these 2 main policies, our motto is to empower our people. Now we will empower our people through agriculture-based SME and through universal quality education. And those 2 policies drive our 5-year development plan. And so far we have stuck to our 5-year development plan.
Medang Teachers College opened 2 new buildings as part of the school's drive to improve infrastructure and bring quality to the college. The buildings were funded by the Department of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. Principal Matthias Sully thanked Dehurst for the new buildings, saying the last building the school opened was in 2017.
Small yet significant gathering for Medang Teachers College as it celebrated the opening of 2 new buildings. The new Student Services building replaced the old structure that was burned to the ground a few years ago.
On the bigger picture for staff and students, Medang Teachers College is almost changing. It's only people who can think big and walk alone will make this place a better place.
It took 3 years for the construction company China Shenyang International Corporation to complete the structures. On Monday, a representative of the construction company presented the keys of the buildings to the principal. It was opened by the longest-serving member of the board, Moses Gabuogi.
Officially opened by Mr. Moses Gabuogi.
Mr. Gabuogi opened the buildings on behalf of the Education Secretary, Dr. Oke Kombra, and other dignitaries from the Department of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. Other dignitaries not in attendance as well were representatives from the Provincial Education Department.
On this day, the 6th,
Director of the PNG Education Institute, Dr. Juid Niofa, told students quality of education also depends on good infrastructure for student learning and motivation. Dr. Niofa asked students to appreciate the new developments and look after the new structures.
It depends upon very good infrastructure. That is not easy to come about. I am sure that the new infrastructure that we will help us, will make us to learn well, to be able to appreciate that this thing has come at a time when we are around. so we can be able to make good use of it.
Mathalubi's National EMTV News, Medang.
Several classrooms and teachers' houses are being built across various schools in the Obura Wanganara district as part of the district's education projects. These include the Anakombi and Wiobo primary schools and the Aruna Valley Secondary School. These 4 new double-story classrooms have been built in preparation for the Anakombi primary school's upgrade to being a high school. Apart from this, teachers' houses and other infrastructure were also built. This is one of 2 primary schools in the district that have had new classrooms built and will have their status elevated to high schools. District MP Meraki Pefa said they are also focusing on secondary schools.
Now we are into building the infrastructure. That is the Aruna Valley Secondary High School at Kasam. We just completed 2 duplex teachers' house, and we are trying to finalize the basic startup infrastructure so that we can accommodate the first grade 11.
It's been a fun-filled day for the 24 children from rural Bundi who are currently in Goroka for an excursion. Today they visited the University of Goroka, and some have stated that they have hopes to attend school there in the future. The excursion, which is being organized by a local community-based organization, the Kumura Foundation, hopes to inspire children through this program.
This morning, these children from rural Bundi toured the University of Goroka campus. They went to the library, lecture theatres and dormitories to catch a glimpse of this big school. Most of them, if not all, have never been beyond their villages, and this was a new experience. They started their journey yesterday from Gembog to Kundiawa, then Goroka. Their first stop yesterday was at the iconic Round Round Theatre, where they met the director and toured the building. Today, after their visit to UOG, the Paradise Foods team in Goroka met and gave them biscuits and ice cream.
Paradise Foods.
These 24 children are orphans and disadvantaged children from rural Bundi in Medang and attend a school in Gembog, Chimbu province. The organizers, Kumura Foundation, created this avenue under their Rural Education Focus program to give these kids an experience of an urban setting, and it is being supported by the Sir Brian Bell Foundation. All this is being done to inspire these kids. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, part of the excursion tomorrow is to visit the Goroka airport. Air Niugini has arranged for the children to meet the pilot and cabin crew and take a tour of the interior of the aircraft. EMTV will capture this inspiring story, and we hope to bring that to you tomorrow. And now looking at the NASFund market report, the Kina opened unchanged at $0.288 US in the interbank market this morning. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina is buying $0.2805 US, 0.4 Australian dollars, 0.4253 New Zealand dollars, and 29.52 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee and copper closed higher, and cocoa closed lower. Crude oil is trading lower, palm oil closed lower, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading higher. You're watching National EMTV News. We'll bring you stories making headlines overseas after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, more than 1,000 police officers will be monitoring the border and the city as Melbourne goes into lockdown tonight. Australia's Prime Minister telling nearly 5 million Victorians their 6-week sacrifice is for the good of the nation.
Tension soaring in Melbourne. Fury outside the 9 public housing blocks under hard lockdown that are now linked to 75 cases. Those inside watching on in support.
I need some baby food, the right size nappies. We got delivered mouldy bread. It's a joke. It's honestly just a joke.
Tonight, the lockdown will be extended to everyone in Melbourne and Mitchellshire, nearly 5 million people, for 6 weeks.
For the people in particular of Melbourne, this is hard.
With more than 130 new cases today, there are 860 active cases in Victoria, hundreds of them suspected community transmission. Now isolated from the rest of the nation, Victorians are stockpiling essentials.
Lots of flour. Everyone's always buying flowers.
Businesses already on the ropes, forced to close once again.
I think there's going to be a lot that don't survive at all, and that's the black area.
At the border, many are lining up to try and escape lockdown.
I'm trying to get a permit so I can cross back into the border and work.
Victoria may be reeling right now, but the rest of Australia is on notice.
Of course, there's always the risk it could happen in other cities, and every step is being taken to seek to prevent that wherever possible.
Today, New South Wales confirmed an infection imported from Victoria. The boy's family and 80 hotel staff now in isolation.
We're all Victorians now because we're all Australians, and that's where the challenge is right now.
One state's challenge requiring a nation's support.
Brazil's president has tested positive for COVID-19 after months of downplaying the disease and refusing to wear a mask. The 65-year-old has opposed lockdowns as his nation suffers the world's second largest outbreak.
After routinely dismissing the risks of COVID-19, Jair Bolsonaro now joining the 1.6 million Brazilians who've contracted it, even now playing it down.
For example, if I hadn't taken the COVID-19 test, I wouldn't know the result. And it turned out to be positive.
Much like Donald Trump,
he's doing a fantastic job, a great job.
Brazil's president has been a virus skeptic, flagrantly disregarding social distancing and vetoing a ruling to make face masks mandatory. This picture from the weekend shows him wining and dining the US ambassador in close quarters. But he took a turn on Sunday and has been taking the unproven drug hydroxychloroquine. His people unsurprised.
Bolsonaro spoke of not catching it, and he caught it. It's not just a little flu like he was talking about.
Brazil is now on its knees. More than 65,000 deaths, second only to the US. The president keen to redirect the conversation.
We can't just talk about the consequences of the virus, which we have to worry about. Life goes on. Brazil has to produce. We have to get the economy going.
The World Health Organization has wished Bolsonaro a speedy recovery, saying we're all vulnerable to the virus, but it's warning another spike in global deaths could well be coming.
We may see deaths start to climb again because we've only really experienced this rapid increase in cases over the last 5 to 6 weeks.
Some Brazilians are pushing back. Demonstrators held pictures of COVID victims in Sao Paulo, demanding an end to what they call the government of death, with mass graves awaiting the dying.
The first details have been revealed from what's said to be an explosive new book by President Trump's niece, Mary. Miss Trump, a psychologist, is being somewhat estranged from her uncle.
She is the president's niece, the first member of his family to publicly turn against him. Mary Trump unloads in a new book the Trump family tried to stop. Too much and never enough. How my family created the world's most dangerous man.
Mr. President, any reaction to your niece's book? Any reaction to Mary Trump's book, sir?
Any reaction? Mary Trump describes the president's father, Fred Trump, as a high-functioning sociopath who short-circuited Donald's ability to develop and experience the entire spectrum of human emotion. Ms. Trump, a trained psychologist, claims the president's father perverted his son's perception of the world and damaged his ability to live in it. Donald is not simply weak, she writes. His ego is a fragile thing that must be bolstered every moment because he knows deep down that he is nothing of what he claims to be. The White House today is hitting back.
It's ridiculous, absurd allegations that have absolute no bearing in truth. Have yet to see the book, but it is a book of falsehoods.
Mary Trump, who is the daughter of the president's older brother, Fred Jr., sued the president and his siblings, claiming she was treated unfairly in her grandfather's will. The case was later settled. She has seen little of her uncle over the past 20 years, although she attended a dinner at the White House in early 2017. She acknowledges that the next year she gave details of Trump family finances, including tax records, to the New York Times.
And Trukai Sports' next Kilawani is at the sports desk.
Thank you, Helen. A new look Barramundi national cricket team, some news on hockey, and Fiddlies with a review of the weekend's rugby league matches. Join me after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Papua New Guinea men's national cricket team, the Barramundis, adorned new uniforms today. We caught up with the new look Barramundis at the gym. As the return to normalcy is embraced by many sporting federations, Cricket Papua New Guinea welcomed its national athletes back together with a new look. Unlike the previous set, the new look gives more attention to the national colours. The Barramundis have been in training individually throughout the COVID lockdown period. With normalcy returning, the full team is back together, except for the Australian-based Chad Soper and Jack Gardner.
After the whole lockdown situation, and we came back and we did a lot of in-house cleaning, and we set up a new culture within the team as well, new motto within the team, and the uniforms were just like to seal it off.
Norman Vanua, the Barra's right-handed bowler, reckons the uniforms are an added delight to the team.
Everyone loves the new uniform, so yeah, I think this is the second one in the 1 year we've been together, so yeah, it's really good.
With the International Cricket Council announcing the resumption of international fixtures, the new look Barramundis have heightened their training schedule.
It's brought all the boys back together, and it feels like, you know, something new and a new look. So that was brought over by our head coach Joe.
Training in little groups has its benefits, but I reckon as a team going forward to train in a group's way better. The last 3 weeks have been really good. We've been training really hard.
Kilawani, Trukai Sports. Sports have been greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and especially during lockdown, sports around Papua New Guinea came to a complete halt. For the Hockey Federation, however, the lockdown was a blessing in disguise. The COVID-19 lockdown was seen by many as a negative situation. This, however, is not the case for PNG Hockey Federation. For them, the lockdown has been a blessing in disguise. The proposed improvements to the hockey pavilion will be implemented with consideration of the standard operating protocols of COVID-19. In the meantime, the Federation is awaiting its affiliated associations to submit their proposals, incorporating the standard operating protocols before possible commencement set for August later this year. After a successful week of rugby league action from the nation's Intercity Cup competition, there are still some minor issues to iron out. With the competition under strict COVID-19 protocols, the organizers are calling on crowds to do their part by practicing the basic social distancing rules put in place, something that was not practiced by all members of the crowd.
After the first weekend of rugby league in Papua New Guinea's Intercity Cup competition, things are looking bright with crowd getting some praise for their behaviour.
Crowd that attended were by all accounts, well behaved. There was adequate signage advising everyone to comply with the protocols necessary.
But while the managers of the game day protocols, Leading Edge Limited, here in Port Moresby acknowledged the crowd as well behaved, some were mischievous, not practicing social distancing.
Maintain your social distancing, 2 seats apart. That's just the way it has to be, and we'll do our level best to work with everyone who comes in, but please come now. Cooperate. Sit down, please. And no play or no like giving hard time. Make it something good.
Stanley Hondina, the manager of the Papua New Guinea National Rugby League competition, says added security measures will be accorded to this weekend's matches to maintain the bunnies protocols.
Put in some added security layers and measures. We can only get better on a week by week. We started, we will continue to improve, we will continue to get better. We can assure the public, we can assure the SOE controller and his team, everyone involved, sponsors and partners, that this week's experience would be a little bit improved from last week. And from here on, or week on, we will keep on building to get better.
Hondina added that ticket sales went well for both venues in Lae and Port Moresby as well.
3,500 tickets been sold, been selling. We sold a good 3/4 of the tickets on both days. And trying times, hard times out there, but that shows the love and the passion that the people have for the game.
For Port Moresby this weekend, the northern stands, left vacant last weekend, will be utilised with an additional 1,000 spaces made available. That means 1,000 tickets to be printed.
We're going to have access to the northern stand, which adds another 1,000 seats to the tickets available. That takes it up to around 4,500 tickets that will be printed and ready for our fans of rugby league.
Frederick Sukina, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with football and cricket abroad. Stay tuned for the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. A failed attempt by 3 A-League football clubs to flee Melbourne has placed the competition's start in serious jeopardy. The teams are still trying to escape the lockdown city, and now border restrictions blocking them.
Attempted mad dash out of Melbourne, perhaps summed up best by this post from Western United defender Andrew Durante, the former Phoenix skipper, one of several players documenting this football fiasco.
They said it was a quick break, but we're still here. And that's it, we're still here and that's it.
With the A-League supposed to be restarting next Thursday and Victoria announcing border closures at midnight, the 3 Melbourne teams were suddenly up against the clock.
As you probably heard, we're going to have to be leaving for a hub tomorrow.
Western United, Victory and City resembled a school camp as they boarded their buses set for the airport. But once there, they were stuck at the hangar for 1.5 hours, receiving advice that they'd have to quarantine at Canberra for 2 weeks before going on to New South Wales.
Today, nothing. We're returning home and hopefully we'll find a solution. You've got to be positive.
It comes after players were stuck on the tarmac the previous night too, foiled by fog. Durante's former teammates sympathetic.
Me and Stephen Taylor and a couple of the other boys, he filled us in on, what happened with them. It's fair to say he was probably a little bit frustrated.
But admitting a further delayed season could actually benefit the Wellington side.
If it means we have to take another 2 weeks to train and work hard and get some more fitness in the legs, then, by all means.
The FFA is desperately lobbying the New South Wales government for exemptions, saying it'll look at rescheduling matches if required. Until then, this operation's remaining firmly grounded.
To cricket, it's going to be one of the most extraordinary test matches in cricket history. England hosting the West Indies starting tonight in an empty venue. Both teams quarantining themselves away from the rest of the world.
Cricket in a time of COVID. Finally, we're ready. Remember, this is international sport returning. It's demanded the West Indies cooperation and then painstaking preparation to live, practice and play in biosecurity.
Well, these enormous cricket stumps give you a pretty big clue that I'm close to a cricket ground, but actually this is about as near as I'm allowed to get to the Ageas Bowl, because the end of the road there, that's where the bubble begins.
This footage was filmed for us by England. Recognise this man? Ben Stokes. Well, we've seen him in every situation. The trial, the triumphs, the most talked about and celebrated English cricketer for decades. This week he's the new captain, but the same Stokes.
It's all about going out there and doing, what I normally do, which is to try and influence the game as much as I possibly can. So that won't be changing. The big difference is obviously making decisions under different types of pressure, which we know that test matches can throw at you.
Well, the West Indies have already been in England for nearly a month, living in 2 cricket grounds with on-site hotels. Even birthday parties take place in their group lockdown.
We've been made to come closer. If you probably didn't have the bubble, guys might have been here, there and everywhere. So it's good to have everybody in one place, and guys have been made to build build stronger relationships.
The team that lives together, bonds together, might just win together. Well, it could just be a kind of domino effect.
Goroka Sports ends there. Helen will be back with the weather forecast. Bye for now.
Goroka Sports. Goroka Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Fine tonight, partly cloudy in Port Moresby. Windy and mostly fine weather in Daru. Mostly fine, although partly cloudy in Kirrama. And mostly fine with a few drizzles in Alotau. Partly cloudy with few rain drizzles in Popondetta. In the Momasa region, mostly cloudy with occasional rain drizzles in Lae. Fine, although partly cloudy with morning rain drizzles in Medang. Partly cloudy with few showers and drizzles in Wewak and occasional rain showers and drizzles, and partly cloudy weather in Whanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, light drizzles and mostly fine morning in Lorengau. Mostly cloudy with rain drizzles at times in Kavieng. Fine, although partly cloudy in Kokopo and Rabaul. Rain drizzles tonight, then fine, partly cloudy morning in Kimbe, and mostly fine, although partly cloudy in Buka. And in the Highlands region, rain showers and drizzles easing, then morning fog in Mount Hagen. Few rain drizzles tonight, then morning fog in Goroka and Kundiawa. Thundery rain showers easing tonight, then morning fog in Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's the way it is this Wednesday, 8th of July 2020. From all of us here at EMTV, pleasant viewing. Good night.